So let's get more now on Donald Trump's troubles, which could see him knocked out of the US election campaign. I'm joined by the political scientist, Professor Peter Mathews, who's in Long Beach, California. Professor Mathews, thanks very much for joining us. Any other politician who said what Donald Trump has said would be toast by now, and with this new claim that Hillary Clinton founded Islamic State, has he done the seemingly impossible and gone too far even for him?
He's gone very, very far with that claim, and he's down to 35% of the vote. Hillary's got about 43% in most of the polls. So this is showing, it's telling. I mean, he's got a 10% disadvantage now. He's dropped considerably since the two conventions were over because of some of these outrageous statements. So what has happened also is the Republican leadership, for example, Paul Ryan and the other leaders, Donald Trump is refusing to endorse Paul Ryan in his re-election bid on August 9th. Now, Paul Ryan is the second most powerful person in the U.S. government as Speaker of the House. So Trump is just doing things so unorthodox and in a manner in which he may not be able to recover from these things. But you never know. Trump is Trump. And I'm also considering there's maybe a sort of a hidden vote that Hillary Clinton needs to think about. A hidden vote in which many of the people in the polls say that they will not vote for Trump. They're voting for Hillary because they're kind of ashamed or embarrassed to say they're supporting Trump. And yet, when they go into that polling booth and they're in their privacy, they could actually cast a vote for Trump. Trump's always outperformed his polls by a few percentage points. So that's something to consider as well. But some of these statements he's making are just so outrageous. He's plummeted in the last few days since the Democratic convention was over. There's comments about Mr. Khan and others, and the son of Mr. Khan who was killed in combat. It was just outrageous. And the Republican leadership are trying to distance themselves, are trying to get him to wise up and behave as a real candidate. So it'll be interesting to see what happens.
You mentioned Republicans increasingly distancing themselves from him. How much does it actually hurt his campaign in reality among voters on the ground? You said that some people, silent voters, might go in and vote for him. He's obviously playing already to his strong fan base. But it doesn't hurt him amongst those people, does it, him saying these things?
No, it doesn't. It doesn't hurt him among his strong fan base because they're convinced that this is the man, he's the outsider who can really straighten things out because they're so fed up with their lives, having lost jobs to outsourcing. They blame the American elite of both parties for encouraging free trade without fair trade. And you saw the Brexit vote in Britain. There's a similarity here. People were very fed up, and there was no prediction that Brexit would pass, and yet it did because of the hidden vote and the fermentation of discontent. And we have that here in America. A lot of people's lives have not gotten better since the recession was so-called over. The jobs they've gotten, 2/3 of those jobs are lower paying jobs than the jobs that they had when they were laid off. So there's a lot of problems here with the economy. If Trump would just stick to the economy and leave the social issues alone, he'd do a lot better. But Hillary's actually hoping he does the opposite. She wants to fight him on the social issues, and because most Americans are very progressive and liberal on social issues. So Trump needs to, I mean, I'm not going to give him advice, but this is the way I see it, that he could actually blow this whole thing. And yet he's got that hidden vote. He's got those loyal supporters, the fed up, the idea that the fact that he's the agent of change. He can use that really to catapult himself forward because he can say, I'm the change agent. I'm not the politician. I was never in politics. And he can keep haranguing the leadership of both parties as being corrupt, having taken money from big banks and corporations. And he says, look, I'm my own businessman and I have my own funding. And although he does take money now from some wealthy people too for campaigns. By the way, he raised $80 million this month in July, $80 million to Hillary's side of $90 million. So he's actually narrowed the gap in fundraising, which means with that kind of money, he can come up with a lot of negative campaigning in September and October against Hillary.
And how will the Democrats be reacting to these sort of latest outbursts? Will they secretly be quite pleased that he's doing this because it opens up the center ground of people who aren't avid Trump fans but maybe are on his side? But the more he says these things about social issues, they'll veer more towards Clinton.
Yes, the Democrats are just loving it in private. And in fact, Hillary's reached out to many Republicans, and some of them have responded. Meg Whitman, the former candidate who ran for governor in California, multimillionaire who was the Hewlett-Packard executive, she's now endorsed Hillary. She says she's going to vote for Hillary, and she's going to raise funds for Hillary. She's a Republican, and many other Republicans in leadership positions have actually said they're supporting Hillary Clinton, and she's reaching out to them. So that opens up the center. It opens up a cross-section of voters and donors, especially. And nevertheless, I think that the reason Hillary is doing well enough at 43% is because Trump is doing so poorly. Any other candidate would be tough for her to beat at this point. But let's face it, there are only two major candidates in the race, although there are the two other ones that are not getting much publicity, Jill Stein and Gary Johnson. Jill Stein, the Green Party candidate, is drawing about 33.5% right now. and Gary Johnson about 9%, actually, the Libertarian. And what's happened with the Bernie people is many of them have gone off to form what they're calling a brand new Congress. They're working on having a new Congress in 2018 of progressives running a campaign like Bernie Sanders, without corporate money, for doing things like single-payer health care, reducing gap in rich and poor. A brand new Congress where the energy of the Bernie people have gone. So those Bernie voters may not really be focusing too much on supporting Hillary. That's about 30% of the Bernie voters said they would not vote for Hillary. But in the end, let's see. So in the end of the polling booth, when it comes down to people saying our main choices are Trump or Hillary, and they may actually go for Hillary. So we'll see what happens in that case. It'll be a very interesting election. I've never seen anything like this in my many, many years of analyzing these kinds of elections. It's remarkable.
Watching it closely on this side of the pond. Professor Peter Mathews, thank you very much for your time.